Hello everybody. We're here just by the Silverwood Lake Dam, and this is a plant called Asclepias eriocarpa. It's one of our native milkweeds. It's one of my favorite plants. So remember, Asclepias are in the Asclepidaceae. They're the milkweed family, famous for being the hummingbird. It's not hummingbird, excuse me. Butterfly, excuse me. Butterfly, monarch butterfly larval plants. I don't rarely see too often the larva eating this plant, but it is supposedly one of the larval plants. Either way, it's a fantastic plant. So it's a perennial. Asclepias eriocarpa comes from a tuberous root, which would be down there. The plant sprouts relatively late in the spring. You can see the big stems down there. Out here in the western Mojave and in Southern California, it usually sprouts in about March and April, growing pretty quickly. It blooms these gorgeous white flowers, very complicated flowers. Only large insects like moths, butterflies, and wasps can really successfully pollinate that flower. Eriocarpa, Asclepias eriocarpa, is found mostly in the chapparal zones in the western and southwestern Mojave Desert. It's not really found out in the Mojave Desert, out in the desert there. There are different species of Asclepias. This one's mostly found on the edges. Here it's growing with hollyleaf cherry. That is Prunus ilicifolia. Here is buckwheat, Eriogonum fasciculatum. Cooper's golden bush, Eriocarmeria cooperi, and some other weedy plants. Again, the leaves are really nice and fuzzy. Beautiful fuzzy leaves, quite large. Oh, there's a bumblebee. So the bumblebee, how he pollinates it is he gets the flower and his foot gets stuck in something called a hood. And when his foot gets stuck, he pulls it out and then hopefully takes it to another flower. Again, only larger pollinators can do that. So bumblebees, butterflies, like of course the monarch butterfly, and large wasps like tarantula hawk wasps, they can do that. Smaller insects don't pollinate this thing. After this thing blooms, it will make a pretty large pod, which will open up and shed like fluffy seeds. That will probably happen about June, July. And then this plant will die back to the ground. There'll be nothing left. It'll just completely die by the fall. You won't even know this was here. And then it'll come back again. It's a long-lived perennial, pretty drought tolerant. It needs well-drained soils, though it does tend to grow in areas where there is some groundwater. This area by the dam has some seepage, and I've seen in the springtime water coming out of this particular slope. And in the mountains, again, I've also seen it growing where there is some moisture, but it does like very well-drained soil, always in full sun. And it doesn't compete well. So if you're going to grow it in a garden, you need to grow it in an open area where it doesn't have a lot of competition with other plants, especially shrubs and things like that. It likes to be open. It can do really well in grasses and with some lower shrubs, but it's not going to grow well under or near trees or larger shrubs. Again, this is the Asclepias eriocarpa.